it gives me a great honor to present our middle child, Senator Dr. Rand Paul. Who will introduce his dad. And I would like to tell you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
All 16! All 16! All 16!
Are you ready?
No.
Thank you.
Okay, one thing.
All 16!
What are you saying?
You're saying Paul 16. Thank you.
Okay, go.
Thank you. Thank you. Now, you guys are lucky we only brought half the family. If we'd have brought the whole family, we'd be here for another hour. I want to thank you for supporting my dad and also for supporting the cause of liberty and not letting our founding principles die. Anybody here in favor of abolishing the TSA? You know, when I say that in Washington, they say, what are you complaining about? You can go to the airport, and if you don't have health insurance, you can get a free breast exam. You can get a free mammogram, and if you mention the Ron Paul revolution, you can get a free colonoscopy. The only problem is some of us would prefer that our physician not be selected by advertising that's on the Pizza Hut box. I had the director of TSA come before my committee, and he said, well, we've got to pat down these children. And I showed him a picture of a 6-year-old girl from Bowling Green, Kentucky, and the agent had her hands inside this little girl's pants. And he said to me, in all seriousness, and he followed up with a letter, and he said, well, a girl in Kandahar set off a bomb, an 8-year-old girl. And I said, this girl's not from Kandahar. She's from Bowling Green, Kentucky. There's a professor at Harvard, and he wrote recently, his name's Noah Feldman, he wrote, the next time the TSA asks you to put your hands above your head, no, hun, just a little bit higher. No, hun, a little bit higher. And when you stand there for a vulnerable 7 seconds, the next time you do this, you ask yourself, is this the pose of a free man? We have had the beginnings of some great victories, but we have yet to have the great victories. We did have a great victory in the House when we passed Audit the Fed. This is a credit to a certain congressman from Texas who got every Republican to vote for it and 100 Democrats to vote for it. A lot of news reports are saying it's dead now and it's going nowhere, and I can tell you that's not true. We have 29 co-sponsors in the Senate. I've sat down personally with Harry Reid twice, and Harry Reid assures me that he's been for Audit the Fed for over 20 years. Don't laugh. We found the YouTube videos. From 1987 on, Harry Reid has been for Audit the Fed. He's just not sure if he's still for it. But this is something we can do. When I go back in September, we're going to try to get a vote. Harry Reid is the only one that can allow me to have the vote. He has all the power if everyone in this room convinces 100 other people to email Harry Reid and says, we want to vote on Audit the Fed, I think we still can get it. So that is for you to do. One of the great things that's come out of Audit the Fed is that people have heard you. They've heard you saying in the Fed too, but they've also heard Audit the Fed. But here's the thing, because we've talked about Audit the Fed so much, we're now talking about Audit the Pentagon. Now, because of Hurricane Isaac, it's not sure whether my message will get to the Republican National Convention, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to be able to speak. But one of the messages that I will give to them is that Republicans need to acknowledge that not every dollar is well spent or sacred in the military, and we have to look for waste in every department of government. A lot of you have been involved in my dad's presidential campaign in 2008 and 2012. It's been a marvelous ride that none of us will ever forget. But there are three things that stick out in my mind and to me are so incredible that they were ever spoken at all on a national stage. The first one, and the one I'll never forget, and this is something Republicans need to hearken to and Republicans need to understand when they say, why do all these young people love Ron Paul? Why does the internet love Ron Paul? They think it's because he's cool. Well, you know, I'm his kid. I can tell you it's not because he's cool. But the ideas of liberty are cool. And I can tell you one moment that I thought was really cool when he said, you know what? When you read the Beatitudes, when you read the Sermon on the Mount, it doesn't say anywhere in there, blessed are the war makers. What came out of these campaigns was a candidate who said something no one had heard, who said that we can have and should have limited constitutional government, but as part of that message, we should be reluctant to go to war. We should not have a rash foreign policy. We should be careful. Another moment they originally called the Ron Paul moment was when he talked about blowback. Had he not talked about blowback, I don't think anyone ever would have. And the one thing that people still fail to grasp, so many fail to grasp, is they say, well, that's what your enemies are saying. Well, if you want to know why your enemies attack you, it doesn't justify why they attacked you, it doesn't justify any attacks, but if you want to understand what's going on, you would have to know why they say they attacked you. The final, and I know there are hundreds of moments, but the final moment that was one of my favorite, and I think this was from 2008 also, when they talked about the war in Iraq, and he said, you know what? We just marched in, and we can just march out. I give to you the guy that is my hero, the guy that is the greatest representative of the liberty movement in our time, my father, Ron Paul.